What's going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be sharing the best places in the Southwest. Depending on where you look, you will find all different sources showing different states of what the Southwest actually includes. So for purposes of this video, I'm going to be using this source and talk exclusively about Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. My girlfriend and I are photographers and filmmakers, and we've been traveling this region over the last 7 years, and in our opinion, this list includes some of the best bucket list travel destinations. But real quick, if you don't mind, it would mean the world to me if you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But anyways, let's hop right in. This is my top 10 places to visit in the Southwest. First up, I'm going to start with Sedona, which is an Arizona desert town near Flagstaff, and it's surrounded by red rock buttes, steep canyon walls, natural rock features, and caves, and much, much more. In town, Sedona has a vibrant art community with spas, art galleries, and new age shops. Honestly, I hope I get to visit Sedona many more times in my life because every time I've been, it's been such a fun experience. Some of my favorite trails here for hiking include Sedona Caves, Cathedral Rock, Devil's Bridge, Birthing Cave, and much more. There's a lot of really iconic hikes in Sedona. It's a really famous area, and I couldn't recommend it enough on a road trip. I do have a dedicated vlog to adventures in Sedona and a top 10 hikes in Sedona, so if you'd like to check those out, they're on the channel and they're a little bit more detailed going into each hike individually. But for visiting Sedona, I think a 3 to 6 day trip would be the perfect amount of time to spend here, so you can really try to see it all. If you're short on time, you will be able to see plenty in 3 days, but if you have the time to do 5 or 6 days, you'll be able to see a lot more, and you'll be able to go at a slower pace and enjoy it a bit better. Plus, if you have time, there's a handful of awesome day trips from here, including Montezuma Castle, Slide Rock State Park, and Watson Lake, to name a few. Next up is Valley of Fire, which is just 45 minutes northeast outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. Valley of Fire is one of my favorite places to visit in the state, not to mention if you're visiting Vegas and planning on having a classic Vegas experience of indulging in lots of food and drinks, this is really nice to get outdoors and break up some of that. But really, Vegas is also a great base camp for adventure, with so much to do in the area aside from Valley of Fire, including Red Rocks, the Hoover Dam, Death Valley, and a few other places I'll mention later in this video. But for Valley of Fire, my favorite hiking trails and places to visit are the Fire Wave, White Dome Slot Canyon, Fire Canyon Lookout, and really just taking the scenic drive through the park. There also have been a handful of Hollywood movies filmed here, which that is pretty cool too. So on some of the hiking trails, you can see some signs that have information about those. Valley of Fire is a great place for a quick day trip, or you can turn it into a multi-day trip where you can camp inside the park and really see it all. This is one of those places that you can really go for as long as you want, but if you do want to just see the hot spots, you can do it in one day if you'd like. At number 3, I'm just going to lump together all of Utah's state parks when making this video. I couldn't just decide on one park because there's so many incredible ones and they're extremely diverse. So I just wanted to include them all together. Utah has 46 state parks scattered throughout the state, and I actually have a video where I made a list of my top 10 Utah state parks where I showcased the best of the best. But for this video, a few I just want to make sure that I mention are Quail Creek, Goblin Valley, Snow Canyon, and the Great Salt Lake. Quail Creek is one of the most unique places I've ever seen in Utah. It has your typical red rock cliffs, desert buttes, and crazy landscapes, but in the middle of it all, there's just this beautiful aqua blue and green water oasis. From a drone, it doesn't even look real, honestly. This is a great place for kayaking, paddleboarding, or just a picnic on the water. Another one, Goblin Valley, it's one of those places that looks like it could just be on another planet, has beautiful rock formations, yurts that look like they belong on Mars, and little goblin-shaped rocks scattered throughout the park. Snow Canyon is a park near St. George, and this place is such an amazing hidden gem. Most people traveling through Utah that I've brought up Snow Canyon to have never even heard of it. But this place could be a national park on its own with its diverse landscapes and number of trails. Some of the good places to see here are Jenny Slot Canyon, Cinder Cone Volcano, White Domes, and the Petrified Dunes. The last park I'll mention is the Great Salt Lake, and this is the perfect day trip outing from Salt Lake City or Provo, and I feel like it wouldn't be a trip to northern Utah without seeing the Great Salt Lake. It's something that's super unique to Utah and something everyone should see at some point. Next up is going to be Page, Arizona, which is located in the northern center of Arizona, right below the border with Utah. Page is the hub for Lake Powell and parts of Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. There's so many amazing outdoor activities, places to visit, and hikes to do in the area. The most famous one being Antelope Canyon, which is an extremely popular and busy tourist destination, or at least for Upper Antelope Canyon. We actually visited Lower Antelope Canyon via kayaking, which was so amazing, and I couldn't recommend that enough. To visit Lower Antelope Canyon, you don't need a permit, and kayaking there just makes the experience so much better. We even camped overnight on Antelope Island. A few other amazing hikes here are going to be the Toadstool Hoodoos, Hopi Salt Trail, Coyote Buttes, and Horseshoe Bend. I have a top 10 page video on the channel that breaks down all of the best places here, but one place that I want to mention a few additional things for is the Hopi Salt Trail, which is a day trip from Page or a backpacking trip you can do from Page, but this is no joke of a hike and it shouldn't be taken lightly. It takes you to one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in the United States, but it's worth noting that you do need a permit. The hiking trail is very difficult and hard to navigate, and this trail is in the middle of nowhere, so you should have GPS devices. Someone should know that you're hiking the trail and when you'll return, and it's also worth noting that it's on Navajo land, so it goes without saying that you need to visit with the utmost respect and practice leave no trace. And just to clarify, this is not Havasupai. This is hundreds of miles east of Havasupai. This is a completely different trail and area. Alright, at number 5, we're going to have Rocky Mountain National Park, which is just over an hour outside of Denver, Colorado. Rocky Mountain is one of my favorite national parks and holds a special place in my heart. It's one of the first national parks I went to and probably one of the places that sparked my hiking career. There's some national parks where you can see the best of the best without hiking and just by driving through the park, but Rocky Mountain is not one of those places. Sure, there are a few amazing hikes that are less than a 2-mile hike, but if you really want to see the best places this park has to offer, you'll need to plan for some big hiking days. Some of the best places in my opinion are between a 7 and 14-mile hike, and some of these include Sky Pond, Andrews Glacier, Chasm Lake, and many more. Rocky Mountain is also home to Trail Ridge Road, which is the highest continuously paved road in the United States, crossing the Continental Divide at 12,183 feet above sea level. Rocky Mountain is also home to Long's Peak, which is the only mountain in the park that is above 14,000 feet. It's likely the most famous 14er in the state, with a hiking route to the summit and hundreds of rock climbing routes to the summit. Next up is going to be another mountainous region of Colorado, another one of my favorite places in the state, that is the San Juan Mountains. To me, this feels like a more rugged area of the state, and I chose the mountain range as a whole because there's just so much to do here and I couldn't pick one specific hike or place. But some of the places that you'll need to make sure to visit are Telluride, the $1 Million Highway, Pagosa Springs, and Ouray, which is known as the Switzerland of America. The San Juans are home to a handful of 14,000 and 13,000 foot mountains, and there's an endless amount of hiking trails, including some of my favorites, Island Lake, Ice Lake, and Columbine Lake, which are some beautiful, pristine, high alpine lakes that sit between 10 and 13,000 feet. The San Juans also have activities for the more adventurous souls, like some of the most famous ice climbing in the country, rock climbing in every single direction, a few via ferratas, snowmobile and mountain bike areas, and much, much more. At number 7, we're going to have Hanksville, Utah, and this is one of those places that really is in the middle of nowhere. While it's only an hour and a half from Moab, it just feels really secluded. But it is an area worth visiting for those that love riding ATVs, dirt bikes, and those who love wild camping and overlanding. So if you have a rig and you want a nice secluded place to chill for a few days, Hanksville is definitely the spot for you. The town itself is tiny, with the only real highlight being the Hollow Mountain gas station, which is a gas station that was built right into the side of a desert rock cliff, which is really unique. But aside from that, there's only really like 2 hotels, at least the last few times I was there. So during Utah's busy season, they're almost always sold out. But like I mentioned, the wild camping here is endless. I've camped here and slept in our old camper van many times. Most of the time, I've camped at various locations surrounding Factory Butte, which is the most famous place here. Also worth visiting are the Caneville Mesas, Moonscape Overlook, Goblin Valley, which is a Utah state park, but it's pretty close to here. And while you're visiting Hanksville, you should try to make time for Capitol Reef National Park, since it's just a little further west of Hanksville, and that also is one of the more secluded national parks in the state. So if you're going to be visiting Hanksville, you might as well do both. At number 8, we're going to have Bisti Badlands, New Mexico, and this is going to include Bisti Badlands and the Denazine Wilderness. And if I am pronouncing this wrong, I apologize in advance, but from our research and who we talked to while visiting, this is how we were told it was pronounced. I feel like this place isn't as frequently visited as some of the other locations on this list, but it's an amazing area in New Mexico that definitely deserves more credit. I wouldn't say it's quite a hidden gem, but it's more under the radar than other spots. Our favorite hiking trails here are the Bisti Badlands Trail, the Ashi Slepa Trail, and the Valley of Dreams Loop, with the last one being my favorite. Number 9 is going to be Cathedral Gorge, and this is an amazing hidden gem in Nevada. Cathedral Gorge State Park is 2.5 hours north of Las Vegas. It's situated about halfway between Vegas and Great Basin National Park. So if you're visiting the national park, you should definitely make the trip to Cathedral Gorge. This state park has some of the most beautiful and unique rock formations I've seen in the Southwest. The formations are so smooth and just layered in such an aesthetically pleasing way. And something that I really loved is that you can enter the rock formations like the Moon Caves. And this is one of my favorite trails. It is hard to call the caves of the park a trail because they're pretty much all at various parking lots. You don't have to do much walking if you don't want to, but they're so much fun to explore. The slot canyons and caves are never ending, and if you are looking for a hike, one trail worth doing is the Miller Point Trail, which has staircases built right into the rock, and you'll drop down to the valley floor, and then you can hike as far as you'd like, looping to the south end of the park or returning back to your car at Miller Point. At number 10, we're going to have Emerald Cove and Willow Beach, which is less than an hour's drive from Las Vegas. To get here from Vegas, you'll actually drive right over the Hoover Dam, and then you will drive to Willow Beach Marina inside Lake Mead National Recreation Area. The best thing to do here is to kayak. You'll make your way to Emerald Cove or Emerald Cave, which has some of the clearest green water I have ever seen. The green water color is so cool, and being in the cave really accentuates the color. You can book a kayaking tour, or you can rent a kayak and go yourself. I would not recommend doing a tour because it'll be much much more expensive, and you're going to be cattled to the cave with 20 to 40 other people. I think it's much more fun to go on your own. Not to mention, we overheard a kayaking group guide tell his group that the cave was too busy, so he made the executive decision to not take them. Yes, kayaking here is awesome no matter what, but the reason you come here is for the cave, so I know that if I was on that tour, I would have been pretty pissed, but that's just my 2 cents. I'm going to add a bonus location, so at number 11 we're going to have the Grand Canyon. I feel like this list wouldn't be complete without including this bucket list location. The Grand Canyon is one of the most special places in the world. It's no wonder millions of people travel here every single year. The Grand Canyon has an unfathomable amount of layered bands of red rock that showcase millions of years of geological history. Over millions of years, water carved out the canyon through the water's tremendous erosive power, and while the Colorado River flows through 7 different states, the Grand Canyon is mostly home to just Arizona. There are tons of roadside pull-offs to enjoy the Grand Canyon, but if you're looking for something a little bit more intense and adventurous, you can check out the Bright Angel Trail, which will take you all the way to a white sand beach at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It's almost a 20-mile day, but man, what an experience this trail is. Anyways, that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you liked it and found some value in it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And like I mentioned, I have a handful of other top 10s, travel guides, and vlogs on the channel. So if you like this video, please check out some of the other ones. And as always, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys later.